The room fell silent the moment Charlie Kirk's sister stepped out from behind those White House curtains, her face tight, her voice trembling, and her hands clutching a folder so tightly the papers inside were bending. No cameras were supposed to be rolling. No press was supposed to be watching. This was meant to be a private family moment following the Medal of Freedom ceremony. Yet what came next felt less like grief and more like a woman detonating a truth bomb she'd been forced to swallow for months. "I can't stay quiet anymore," she whispered, and every head turned. Erika, standing only a few feet away, froze mid-smile as Charlie's sister opened that folder and revealed documents no one in that room expected to see. Papers linked to meetings, dates, private communications, and a trail that allegedly connected Erika Kirk to rising political power, long before Charlie's death. The whispers started instantly. Staffers stiffened, security shifted, and J.D. Vance, standing near the podium, lowered his gaze as if he'd seen this moment coming all along. But the real shock wasn't the paperwork. It was the trembling confession Charlie's sister made next. Charlie didn't know. With those 3 words, the atmosphere snapped. Suddenly, the warm, polished speeches, the carefully curated appearances, the perfectly timed statements, none of it felt innocent anymore. Every hug, every smile, every prayerful glance from the memorial to the White House now carried a different weight. Erika's face didn't crack, but the room saw something flicker. Was it fear? Was it guilt? Or was it calculation? The sister continued, her voice barely above a whisper, yet sharp enough to cut steel. This wasn't just a marriage. It was a plan. Gasps spread like wildfire, and just like that, the story shifted from grief to revelation. And what Charlie's sister said next would change everything. Long before the White House cameras caught Erika Kirk standing beside Charlie's parents like a woman carved out of porcelain and polished grief. Long before every headline twisted her smile into suspicion and every speech into strategy, there was a history people either forgot or never knew existed. Charlie Kirk's rise wasn't just meteoric, it was mythic. A kid who went from small-town obscurity to national political force, building Turning Point from nothing but ambition, charisma, and a fire that burned so intensely even his critics had to step back. But behind every powerful man stands a complicated family. And Charlie's was no different. His sister, quiet, stubborn, deeply protective, had always been the one person who saw what the world didn't. The pressure behind the speeches, the exhaustion behind the rallies, the vulnerability Charlie never let cameras capture. She was the only sibling who dared challenge him, who understood how fame twisted people around him, who watched how quickly loyalty could shift in political circles. And she didn't trust easily, especially not the woman Charlie brought home one evening with bright eyes, a softer smile, and a conviction that matched his own. Erika wasn't an outsider. She was a strategist in heels. Smart, composed, charming. The kind of woman who didn't stumble into politics. She stepped into it like she'd been studying the playbook for years. To Charlie, that made her captivating. To his sister, that made her dangerous. But Charlie fell fast, and when he married her, the family tried to trust his choice. Still, his sister couldn't ignore the shifts she saw. The way Erika's influence grew steadily behind the scenes, attending meetings that weren't meant for her, weighing in on decisions she wasn't technically part of, inserting herself into donor conversations, board conversations, and eventually, image conversations. Charlie didn't notice, or maybe he didn't want to. He believed in partnership. He believed in loyalty. He believed in building legacy with the woman he loved. But his sister saw something else. saw the way Erika listened, observed, studied the political ecosystem like she belonged at the center of it. She saw how Erika's confidence sharpened after every event, how her appearance got more curated, how her speeches slowly shifted from supporting roles to leading moments. And then came the fracture, the moment nobody talks about. 6 months before Charlie's death, his sister overheard something she never forgot. A late-night phone call between Charlie and someone high-ranking in Washington. The voice on the other end was calm, familiar, and cold. "You need to get ahead of this," the official said. "If you don't, she will." Charlie's voice shook as he replied, "I just want things to stay normal." The official sighed. Nothing stays normal when ambition is involved, especially hers. His sister froze behind the door, realizing for the first time that Charlie wasn't in control of everything happening around him. He was fighting something, a shift he didn't know how to navigate. Days later, Erika began attending even more private meetings, talking about future direction, long-term vision, and building something bigger than one man. Charlie's sister asked him about it. He brushed her off with a tired smile and said, "Erika's helping. She wants what's best for all of us." But the sister saw the fatigue in his eyes. She saw the worry in his shoulders, and she felt the distance growing like a shadow between them. The family noticed too, the way Erika subtly took over communications, shielding information, organizing who could and couldn't see Charlie, deciding which events he needed her for. To the world, she was the devoted wife. To the family, she was a gatekeeper. And when Charlie started complaining about exhaustion, migraines, and stress weeks before the assassination, his sister begged him to take a break. "Just step back," she whispered. "You're burning out." But Charlie shook his head. "It's not that simple. Too many people depend on me." His sister asked, "Or depend on her?" Charlie didn't answer. The silence told her everything. The night before his final public appearance, the one now dissected frame by frame across the internet, Charlie told his sister something haunting. "No matter what happens tomorrow, promise me you'll protect the truth." She didn't understand what he meant then, but when he died, when the memorial felt staged, when Erika stood at the podium with perfect posture and the kind of speech that sounded more political than personal, the sister finally realized the promise he had asked of her. And when she saw Erika step onto the White House grounds weeks later, smiling, composed, connected, the sister knew one thing for certain. The truth Charlie wanted protected had everything to do with the deal Erika was already making. The moment Charlie's sister opened that folder in the White House, the entire facade Erika had carefully built around herself started to splinter, because inside those documents wasn't gossip or speculation. It was timelines, communications, and sealed proposals tied to meetings Erika had attended long before the public ever saw her step forward as a grieving widow. Everything began with Charlie's final months, the months where he had started withdrawing from public commentary, taking fewer calls, and confiding in fewer people. Something the world assumed was exhaustion. But something his sister now believes was him trying to quietly distance himself from a political plan he never approved of. According to the material she revealed, Erika had been attending advisory dinners with political strategists, not as a spouse supporting her husband, but as a participant, listed separately, given her own notes and her own deliverables. One document even listed her as a liaison in training, a title no one could explain, a title Charlie never once mentioned to his sister. But the real shock hit when Charlie's sister flipped to the page marked with a yellow tab, an email chain between Erika and 2 White House staffers, dated 3 weeks before Charlie was assassinated, discussing something called the transition window. In it, Erika asked, "Should we move forward if the opportunity becomes available sooner than expected?" The staffer responded, "We're prepared. JD is prepared. The process can begin early if necessary." The room froze at that line. JD, as in J.D. Vance, as in the man Erika introduced with a glowing smile only hours earlier. And suddenly, the hug, the closeness, the quiet whisper she'd given him backstage. It all looked different. But Charlie's sister wasn't done. She pointed to a second tab and revealed a private text exchange between Charlie and her, the last one he sent before the day he died. It read, "Something's off. The people calling me aren't calling about me. They're calling about her." Charlie's sister looked straight at Erika and demanded, "What were they calling you about? Why were they contacting you instead of him?" Erika stepped forward, composed but visibly rattled. "You're misinterpreting this," she said, voice steady but thinner than usual. "Charlie trusted me to take meetings. He was overwhelmed." But Charlie's sister fired back. "Then why didn't he tell us? Why didn't he tell me?" That's when even the White House staffers stopped pretending not to listen. The tension became suffocating. J.D. Vance staring at the floor, Charlie's parents gripping each other's hands tightly, the Secret Service shifting uncomfortably, as if the air itself felt unstable. Charlie's sister continued, flipping to the final page, a page Erika clearly didn't expect her to find. It was a confidential agenda for a proposed meeting titled Post-TPUSA Leadership Restructure. The proposed attendees, Erika Kirk, J.D. Vance, 2 White House officials, and 1 Turning Point board member. The proposed date, 2 months after Charlie's death. Except the document was drafted before Charlie died. The room gasped. Erika's face tightened, her composure cracking for the first time. "This doesn't mean what you think it means," she insisted, but her voice trembled. Charlie's sister stepped closer and said the words that shattered every shred of doubt in the room. "This plan, this meeting, this entire agenda was created while my brother was alive, and he didn't know about any of it. So tell me, Erika, why were you planning to restructure his organization without him?" Erika opened her mouth, but her breath caught. No words came out. And that silence said more than any answer she could have formed. But what truly detonated the moment came next. Charlie's sister revealed a voice memo Charlie had left her, a recording she had kept locked away, unsure whether she imagined his tone, unsure whether it meant anything, until now. She pressed play. Charlie's voice filled the White House room, tired, shaken, almost afraid. "Something's happening," he whispered. "There are meetings I'm not invited to. Decisions being made without me. If anything happens to me, look at the people around her. Look at who she's working with." Erika's eyes widened in panic. J.D. shifted uncomfortably. Even the Secret Service stiffened, and the room erupted with whispers, grief turning to suspicion, suspicion turning to horror. Charlie's sister ended the recording and said, "My brother didn't know what you were planning, but he knew something was being built behind him." Erika stepped back, shaking her head, whispering, "This is being twisted. None of this is what it looks like." But nobody believed her, not after what they had just heard. And then, as if the universe wanted to punctuate the moment, a phone began ringing, loud, sharp, from the front row. It was Charlie's father's phone. He looked at the caller ID and instantly went pale. He whispered, voice trembling, "It's his attorney." Charlie's mother grabbed his arm. "Answer it." When he picked up, the attorney didn't even say hello. He simply said, "Mr. Kirk, we need you to come in immediately. Something has been uncovered in Charlie's private files." Charlie's father asked, "What is it?" The attorney hesitated, then replied, "Proof that Charlie challenged a White House request weeks before he died." Gasps erupted again. The sister turned slowly toward Erika. "What request?" she asked. Erika stared at the floor, refusing to meet anyone's eyes. J.D. Vance stepped forward as if to speak, and then stopped. And in that split second of hesitation, the room understood the truth. This wasn't just grief. This wasn't just politics. This was a cover-up. And Erika Kirk was at the center of it. The moment Charlie's family arrived at the attorney's office, the energy in the room felt wrong. Thick, cold, heavy. Like everyone inside already sensed they were about to hear something the world was never supposed to know. The attorney didn't waste time with condolences or small talk. He simply walked to a locked cabinet, pulled out a folder marked Kirk, Restricted, and set it on the table with a weight that made Erika flinch visibly, even though she had chosen not to come with them. "What's in that?" Charlie's father demanded. The attorney exhaled slowly, then slid a printed transcript across the table. 3 weeks before Charlie died, he began, he was approached with a political request, one that would have required him to publicly endorse a restructuring of Turning Point leadership. Charlie's mother frowned. Restructure? He never mentioned anything about that. The attorney nodded. He refused, strongly. And that refusal created tension with certain individuals who expected compliance. Charlie's sister scanned the transcript with shaking hands, reading line by line as the truth punched her harder with every sentence. The request wasn't small. It wasn't routine. It wasn't something Charlie could have brushed aside even if he tried. It required one thing: Charlie Kirk stepping down as the face of his own movement. The official reason listed was burnout, a narrative they expected him to adopt gracefully. But the real reason? The real reason was typed in a hidden note at the bottom of the page, one Charlie had highlighted in red. There is growing concern about Charlie's alignment with next phase messaging. We believe fresh leadership is necessary to maintain momentum. Next phase messaging. Those 3 words burned like acid in the sister's eyes. Who was supposed to replace him? She asked, even though she already felt the answer creeping up her spine like a chill. The attorney hesitated, then turned the page. And there it was. A name. Bold. Underlined. Erika Kirk. Charlie's mother gasped so loudly her voice cracked. His father slammed his fist against the table. The sister felt her stomach drop so violently she had to grip the armrest to keep from collapsing. She was the replacement, the father whispered. They wanted her to take over? The attorney nodded, but Charlie refused. He believed the organization wasn't ready for a leadership shift, and he believed the attempt was politically motivated. Charlie's sister whispered, "Politically motivated by who?" The attorney looked at her with eyes that held fear. Real, tangible fear. By White House advisors tied to J.D. Vance's camp. The room exploded with disbelief. "No," Charlie's mother said, voice trembling. "He admired J.D. They worked together." The attorney shook his head. This wasn't J.D. This was people around him. People who saw you-know-who as an asset. A polished, faith-based spokesperson who could soften J.D.'s image and widen his appeal. His sister felt cold all over. She remembered how Erika spoke at events. The tone, the posture, the polished branding. Everything about her was perfect for optics. "So, they wanted Charlie out of the way?" she whispered. The attorney lowered his voice. Charlie believed there was a coordinated effort to push him aside gradually. Not violently, not maliciously, but strategically. He believed the push was about influence, not harm. But he was alarmed. Charlie's father stared at the folder, jaw tight, voice low. "Why didn't he tell us?" The attorney sighed. "He didn't want to worry you unless he had proof." Charlie's sister asked the question that had been clawing at her since the moment the transcript hit the table. "What did he do after he refused?" The attorney flipped to a second page. He wrote a private memo documenting his concerns and sent a copy to one confidant, someone he trusted. Charlie's mother frowned. "Who?" The attorney closed the folder, looked up, and delivered the twist no one saw coming. "Candace Owens." Silence. Hard, suffocating silence. "She received his memo?" his father asked. The attorney nodded. "Yes," and she replied. He handed them the printed email. Candace's response was short, but chilling. "I've seen the shift too. Be careful who you trust." Charlie's sister stared at the sentence until her vision blurred. Candace had known. She had sensed it. She had warned him. And yet the public never heard a word of it. "Why didn't she come forward?" the mother whispered. The attorney shook his head. "We don't know." "But the timing matters." She replied only 2 days before Charlie was assassinated. The sister felt her throat close. "Does this mean the White House was involved in—" The attorney cut her off firmly. "No, we cannot make that leap. The memo shows political pressure, not violence." But the implication hung in the air like a blade. Then came the second blow. The attorney reached back into the cabinet and pulled out a flash drive. "There's one more thing." A recording Charlie made privately after a call with a Turning Point board member. The sister whispered, "Play it." The attorney inserted the drive and pressed play. Charlie's tired voice filled the room. "They're moving fast," he whispered. "Meetings behind my back. Plans drafted without me. And Erika, she's involved somehow. I don't think she understands what she's stepping into." He paused, voice shaking. "But the worst part is, if anything happens to me, they're ready to replace me within days. Like they already rehearsed it." Charlie's mother sobbed into her hands. The sister stared at the speaker like she was listening to a ghost. And the attorney ended the recording with the final twist. Erika met with the board member Charlie mentioned the night before he died. The room went still. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. And suddenly, everything, every interview, every speech, every hug, looked like something else entirely. The moment Charlie's sister finished listening to the flash drive recording, the room felt like it was spinning. Every word Charlie whispered echoing in their bones like a warning fired from the grave. Yandy couldn't stop shaking. Charlie's father kept whispering, "Why didn't he tell us?" under his breath, and his mother sat silently with tears streaming down her face. But Charlie's sister didn't cry. No, she felt something else. Resolve. A cold, burning determination that told her Charlie had left her a trail of breadcrumbs, and she was going to follow every last one. And that's when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. No message, just a location pin. And the note, "Come alone. Do not bring Erika." The sister stared at the screen, heart pounding. She knew exactly where the pin pointed. A private office building downtown, tied to a conservative media figure Charlie had trusted like family. She didn't tell her parents where she was going. They begged her to stay. But she walked out with the same steel in her spine her brother carried into every political battlefield. She drove in silence, gripping the wheel like her life might split in half at any second. When she reached the building, a single black SUV waited out front. A woman stepped out. Sunglasses, all black, calm, controlled. And the moment she spoke, the sister felt her knees weaken. "I knew you'd come." It was Candace Owens. Not a rumor, not a leak, not a message. Candace herself. The sister whispered, "Why didn't you respond sooner? Why didn't you come forward?" Candace exhaled deeply, removing her glasses. "Because I thought staying quiet would protect him. I thought it would protect all of us." The sister shook her head. "But Charlie's dead." Candace's eyes filled with something she rarely showed publicly. Grief. Real grief. "That's why I'm here now." She motioned for the sister to follow her inside, up a stairwell, into a room with heavy blinds and a single table in the center. Candace reached into her bag and placed a device on the table. A small metal recorder. "This is the call Charlie referenced," she said quietly. "The one he made to me 2 days before he died." The sister felt her breath catch. "You still have it?" Candace nodded slowly. "I saved it because he sounded afraid." The sister pressed play. Charlie's voice filled the room again, but this time it was faster, tenser, like he was pacing during the call. "Candace," they pushed back again, "they want me to step aside early, not next year. They already have someone lined up, and they're telling Erika to prepare for the role. She's not denying it anymore." The sister's stomach twisted. Charlie's voice grew quieter. "The board is meeting without me. JD's people are contacting her directly now. I'm starting to think this isn't just strategy. Something's off." Candace's voice responded on the recording, calm but firm. "Charlie, don't make this political. It's internal politics, not government politics. No one is coming for you." But Charlie didn't sound convinced. "Then why are they talking about a transition window? Why are they saying it needs to happen before the convention? Why are they treating me like an obstacle?" Candace was silent for a long moment before he added the words that made the sister's blood run cold. "Candace, if anything happens to me, don't trust the people closest to her." The recording clicked off. Candace didn't speak at first. The sister didn't either. The silence between them stretched until it felt unbearable. Finally, Candace whispered, "I didn't believe him. I thought he was overwhelmed, stressed. But after the assassination, after the memorial, after the White House, I realized he wasn't wrong. The timing was too perfect, too convenient." The sister clenched her jaw. "Erika planned this?" Candace shook her head. "No, I don't think she planned his death, but she wasn't honest about the meetings she was in. She wasn't honest about the calls she took, and she wasn't honest about who she was aligning herself with." The sister stared at her. "Who?" Candace hesitated, then said the name she had been holding back. "One of Charlie's own board members." The sister's heart stopped. Candace leaned closer. Someone who stood beside Charlie for years. Someone he trusted with everything. Someone who promised him loyalty but started meeting with the White House behind his back. The sister whispered, "Tell me who it is." Candace finally said it, a name that would send shockwaves through every conservative circle in the country. And just as she did, the office hallway lights flickered. A shadow moved under the door. A knock, slow, deliberate, echoed through the building. Candace's face hardened. "They followed you," she whispered. The sister turned toward the door in terror as the knob began to twist. And the segment ends there. The door handle twisted slowly, and Candace grabbed the sister's arm with a force that sent every nerve in her body into high alert as the shadow on the other side loomed larger, heavier, almost intentional, like whoever stood there wasn't hiding. Whoever stood there wanted to be seen. Then the door creaked open just an inch, enough for a silhouette to slip through, and Candace stepped forward, ready to fight if she had to. But the sister gasped, recognizing the figure instantly. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't press. It wasn't a White House staffer. It was Ronald Greene, Turning Point's longest-serving board member. A man Charlie once called the safest pair of hands inside the organization. His presence didn't bring relief. It brought dread. "Close the door," he said coldly. And when he stepped into the room, his eyes didn't look like the man they once knew. They looked calculated, exhausted, and irritated that this meeting was happening without him. Candace crossed her arms. "How did you find us?" she demanded. Ronald didn't answer. Instead, he turned to Charlie's sister with a tight, almost disappointed smile. "You should have come to me first. We could have discussed this privately." That word, privately, made the sister's stomach twist. She backed away from him. "Discuss what? My brother's warnings? The transition plan he rejected? The meeting you had with Erika the night before he died?" Ronald didn't flinch. He simply sighed, rubbing his temples. "You don't understand how big this is. Charlie was becoming unpredictable. He was refusing strategic partnerships, blocking opportunities, refusing to align with messaging that could have elevated the organization." The sister snapped. "Elevated what HO? Him or you?" For a moment, Ronald's mask slipped. He stepped closer. "Both. That's how politics works. You build power, or you get replaced." Candace shook her head slowly, disgusted. So that's what this was about. Not legacy, not values. Power. Ronald glared at her. "You knew Charlie was burning out. He was losing donors. He was spiraling. The man couldn't carry the movement forever." The sister exploded. "So you chose Erika." Ronald's silence was the answer. Candace stepped between them. "We heard the recording. The memo Charlie sent me. He knew you were meeting behind his back." Ronald's jaw twitched. Charlie misunderstood. He thought everything was betrayal. He thought he was being pushed out. The sister shouted, "He was being pushed out!" The sound echoed through the room. For the first time, Ronald's voice hardened. "I followed orders." Candace froze. "Orders from WHO?" Ronald took one slow breath. "The people above JD." The sister's heart stopped. "Above JD? Who is above JD?" Ronald didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the window, pulling the blinds slightly to peek outside, as if checking whether someone else had followed him there. "You need to stop digging," he said quietly. "This will not end the way you think." But the sister's voice didn't shake. "My brother died!" Ronald turned sharply. "And that's exactly why you need to let this go." Those words broke something inside her. Candace stepped forward aggressively. "Tell us the truth, Ronald. Did you help them push Charlie out? Did Erika know? Did she agree to it?" Ronald shut his eyes, pained. Erika didn't understand the full scope. She didn't know the timing. But she wanted the position. The room went silent. The sister whispered, "So she did plan to replace him." Ronald didn't deny it. He simply whispered, "She thought it was all hypothetical." Candace scoffed. "Hypothetical?" "They wrote her name into the plan before Charlie died." Ronald turned slowly. "And that's why this cannot go public. If it does, Charlie's legacy will be overshadowed by conspiracy. The movement will fracture. Millions will lose trust." But the sister wasn't listening anymore. She was staring at her phone, because a new notification buzzed onto her screen. A video message. Anonymous sender. Attached with the caption, You're not seeing the whole truth. Here's what Erika told him the night before he died. Her blood ran cold. She pressed play. Erika's voice filled the room. Charlie, please. If you won't step aside, they'll force you to. I can't protect you anymore. Candace covered her mouth. Ronald lunged forward. Don't listen to that. But it was too late. The recording continued. Someone already told me the decision is made. If you don't agree to the transition, they'll remove you another way. The video cut off. The sister dropped her phone. Ronald whispered, terrified, You weren't supposed to have that. Candace turned slowly, eyes wide. Who sent this? The sister whispered the only name that made sense. Usha, J.D. Vance's wife. And just like that, everything changed. The moment the name Usha left the sister's lips, the entire room froze as if the air had been punched out of it. Candace blinked hard, trying to process it, while Ronald Green's entire body stiffened like someone had just exposed the one secret he was terrified would surface. The sister's phone buzzed again. Another location pin. Another anonymous message. And this time it said, Come alone. Bring no one. If you want answers, come now. Candace grabbed her arm. No, that could be a setup. Ronald stepped forward, suddenly frantic. You cannot meet her. You don't understand what you're stepping into. But the sister had already made up her mind. She walked past both of them, forcing her way out of the building, ignoring Candace, calling her name, and Ronald cursing under his breath. She drove straight across the city to the address, a quiet residential street, dark, almost too ordinary for a moment this dangerous. When she stepped out of the car, a woman emerged from the shadows wearing a gray hoodie and no makeup, looking nothing like the polished political spouse the world always saw. And yet, the moment she lifted her head, the sister knew. It was Usha Vance. Charlie's sister whispered, Why are you doing this? Usha looked exhausted, haunted even, as she motioned the sister inside a dimly lit townhouse. Once the door shut, Usha collapsed into a chair like she'd been holding a secret that weighed more than her entire life. I didn't want to be part of this, she said quietly. I didn't want any of this. But once it started, once J.D. got pulled into it, I realized no one around him was telling the truth. The sister's breath trembled. What truth? Usha swallowed hard. J.D. didn't ask for the transition plan. He didn't even know about the early timeline. The people around him did. Advisors, donors, strategists, and someone, she paused, voice cracking, someone very close to your family. The sister's heart hammered. Who? Usha's hands shook as she pushed a folder across the table. This is why they needed Erika. She wasn't just supposed to replace Charlie. The sister opened the folder. Her eyes widened. Documents, emails, financial transfers, a meeting agenda stamped with the White House seal, but addressed to Erika Kirk and Ronald Green, not J.D. Usha whispered, Charlie wasn't supposed to step aside. He was supposed to expose something. The sister froze. Expose what? Usha slammed her hand on the table, voice trembling. A donor network funneling money through Turning Point without Charlie's consent. Someone on his board used him as a puppet for years, and when Charlie finally discovered it, when he started digging, someone panicked. The sister's blood ran cold. Ronald? Usha nodded slowly. He was the middleman. And the night before Charlie died, he told Erika the truth. The sister whispered, That video, Erika saying, they'll remove you another way. She wasn't threatening him? Usha shook her head. She was warning him. Silence slammed between them like a wall. The room spun. Everything Charlie's sister believed about Erika cracked and split. Usha continued, voice thin. Erika begged him to step back quietly, not to fight Ronald, not to expose the donor scheme. She thought stepping aside would keep him alive. The sister staggered backward. Candace had been wrong. Ronald had lied. Charlie wasn't paranoid. He was targeted. Usha's voice softened. Erika didn't betray him. She tried to save him. The sister felt her eyes burn with tears. But before she could speak, Usha reached into her pocket and slid over a USB drive. This is the part no one knows yet. The piece that connects all of them. The donors, Ronald, the advisors. The pressure on Charlie. If you release this, everything collapses. Careers, campaigns, entire political circles. The sister swallowed. Why give this to me? Usha looked broken. Because I'm scared JD will be next. The sister's hands shook as she took the USB. But just as she did, the townhouse window shattered. A masked figure leaned in. Usha screamed. The sister ducked. A gloved hand reached through the broken glass and snatched the USB drive. The figure bolted into the darkness. Usha grabbed the sister's arm, terrified. He got it! He got the file! The sister's voice cracked as she whispered the one question that now overshadowed everything. Who else knows the truth? Usha stared into the night and whispered, everyone who wants it buried. And now, with the USB drive ripped straight out of Usha's hands by a masked figure who clearly knew exactly what they came for, the entire investigation has been blown open in a way no one saw coming. Because if someone was willing to break into a house, shatter a window, and steal the one piece of evidence that could expose the entire donor scheme, then this isn't just political tension or internal betrayal anymore. This is a full-scale shadow war happening behind the headlines, and Charlie Kirk's sister is suddenly standing dead center in it with no protection and no way to know who she can trust. Was the masked figure tied to Ronald? Was it one of the White House advisors? Was it someone on Turning Point's own board who realized the truth was one step away from going public? Or was it someone even closer? Someone who had the most to lose if Charlie's final recordings ever saw the light of day? And what about Erika? Was she really trying to save Charlie? Or is there still one more secret she hasn't confessed? And J.D. Vance? How deep was he pulled into a plan he never asked for? With every layer of this story unraveling, the stakes keep getting higher, the motives darker, and the alliances more complicated. So now it's your turn. Drop your theories in the comments. Who stole the drive? Who ordered the cover-up? And who is actually running the show from the shadows? Hit that like button if you're already obsessed. Share this video with someone who's been following the conspiracy from the beginning, and make sure you're subscribed. Because when part 2 drops, we're going deeper into the cover-ups, the late-night calls, and the truth Charlie left behind that someone is desperately trying to erase. Stay locked in. The next twist is coming.